just kind of like sleeping and laying on top of weird positions that you wouldn't ever think would be comfortable for 5 hours, but were. And so we drove through up from Entebbe, where we landed, all the way up to Jinja. So I think you can flip the slide. And so you see Entebbe, it's kind of by the airplane thing. And we flew up to that black circle, which was Jinja, which is right off of Lake Victoria. And so you can flip the slide. That's just where we were in Uganda. And so arriving in Jinja, we arrived at this beautiful base. I mean, it was beautiful compared to what it was in Florida, and like by this time we'd forgotten whatever normal people would think, because boot camp really takes it out of you. And so we saw this base, and after we arrived, we got our bags unpacked, and we put them into the base. And all these school children come out of school, and they come running in, and for the next 3 hours, we played with them, and we taught them games, and we had bracelets to give away, and so that was super cool. So we slept, and then we got up, and we had to like sort our bags and get all the shoes and the medical care stuff. And then at around 11 o'clock, me and 3 others went we went on a full exploration walk, and we found this well. And there were some ladies at the well, and we helped them fill up their bottles, which, as you can see, that's what they were. They're basically old oil cans, and I don't know how good the water is for you in them, but we wound up using them too. And on average, those things weigh, like, depending on how full you get them, from like 25 to like 50 pounds. And these women would carry one on top of their head, sometimes they'd carry one on their shoulders, and they'd have like 2 or 3 hanging from their hands, and they would walk for miles and miles to get their water. I think the ladies that we helped, we walked for about a mile helping them carry stuff, and that was barely halfway to their house. So they carry so much water over to their houses, and sometimes they have to make more than one trip, which I think is unfathomable. Like, how can you not have water in your house? And these women, they just go and start pumping water and get tons of water. And so you can look at the next slide. Oh, there's this lovely thing called squatty potties, because in Uganda they don't have toilets. They have these little holes in the ground that you kind of squat on. And by the way, just so you know, the one that I'm showing you here is the nice one. And most people missed horribly, so it reeked, and there was bugs everywhere, like flies would just swarm around you, and you'd kind of hope, be like, I hope the flies don't fly up anywhere. Because that was a legitimate fear. It was horrible. Okay, you can flip the next slide. And so, we also had some interesting food in Uganda. We had a lot of rice and beans. Like, I have never eaten more rice and beans in my life. We also had goat. For any of you guys who have never tried goat, it's really good, but it's really tough. And we also had this horrible thing called posho, which any of you guys know who I've talked about posho to know that it is the worst food in the whole world. Because Ugandans have this corn-like thing that they call maize, but it's not corn. It's like this mushy stuff that's so hard to eat. And they decide, oh, we can dehydrate it, mush it up, and boil it into this pasty stuff and call it posho. And then they decide, oh, we're going to give this to you guys to eat, despite that it constipates you and has no flavor. And so a lot of us struggled with the amount of posho that we had to eat. So, you can look at the next slide. And so we were in Jinja for around 3 days, getting all of our shoes and stuff together, and then we went to this place called Kiboko, Uganda. If you'll flip to the next slide, I'm showing you where it is. It is right on the border of the Southern Sudan-Uganda border, which, for you guys who don't know, Southern Sudan has been in a war for a very, 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 very long time. And they like to gather Christians and put them in the desert where they will starve or dehydrate and however long it takes them to die. And my leader, Mr. Innocent, 7 of his brothers and sisters and both of his parents are still stuck in Southern Sudan because the war won't let them escape. So we were about 10 minutes walk from the border, which was a little scary. We saw guys with AK-47s every day, and we saw guys with truckloads just kind of driving by. And so that was scary, so you can flip to the next slide. But despite being kind of a scary place to be in, we were on a pretty secure base that was far enough away from the main town of Kiboko. So we did this work project. So we built a veranda, Ugandan style, which is not American style. You basically lay so much mortar that you cannot lay anymore without it falling off. And then you smash a brick on it. And these bricks fell apart. Sometimes you would just touch them and they'd crack. And that was horrible because we had to get so many bricks and most of them wound up breaking. And it was just a very inefficient way to build. But since our leaders were Ugandans, we couldn't have anybody to help teach them a better way to build. But we built it and it wound up being decently stable because we just poured concrete all over it. And we mixed a lot of concrete, and this took about 2 weeks. There was a lot of mixing of concrete, and I had never breathed in more cement in my entire life, and I was coughing cement for weeks. And so these are two people who lived on the base in Kiboko. That one, the guy on your guys' right. And his name was Joshua, and he was about 24, and he was hilarious. If you want to meet a funny guy, Joshua's the guy. Honestly, he taught 3 of our team members to ride a motorcycle in Uganda, which I don't know how that worked because he was like, oh, you're 14? That's chill. You can ride a motorcycle with me. And then the man on the left, his name is Moses, or Odea Moses, which means great Moses or whatever. And I don't know, he had something with me. He always goes, and his eyes would get huge. And I'm like, oh, I'm Mr. Moses. He's like, zoo, 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 zoo. And he would always sit next to me, and I'm like, hey, Mr. Moses, how you doing today? Zoo, 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 zoo. I swear, he did not say anything else to me, but it was kind of funny, and I really enjoyed him. So you can go to the next slide. And so there was 2 kids on the base. Their name was Aaron and Goretti. Goretti was younger than Aaron, but Aaron, he had a motorcycle accident. So this part of his face was all scarred up, and his left eye does not work anymore. It's kind of a wandering eye because of the motorcycle accident he got in about, I think it was a few months before we came, and so he was permanently damaged from that. And his younger sister, Goretti, was the sassiest little girl ever. She was so sassy. She'd be like, no, you do what I say. It was like, whoa, wow. But that was really funny. And those 2 were so sweet. They made our time in Kiboko so much better. And so now for the whole purpose of why we came on this trip, foot washing. So when we were in Kiboko, hundreds, upwards of 500 people would come to the base and they would just crowd around us when we were doing the foot washing. I'm not kidding you, there was so many people there and it was chaos, complete and utter chaos. And so what we did for the foot washing is we got 5-gallon buckets about full of water and we put soap in them and we would take the orphans. So we would have to look through all of these hundreds of people and have to try and find the orphans among them, and which was super sad. So that means everybody's feet that we washed did not have parents, which was heartbreaking because so many of them had horrible injuries, and that was really heartbreaking. So you can go to the next slide. So what we did is we washed their feet, we dried them, we put socks and shoes on them, and they walked away and they got their picture taken and everything so that they could keep record with them. And there was, as you see on the far down right corner, that was a baby who had 3rd-degree burns on her right arm. It's hard to tell sometimes. And all the skin right here had been burned off. And we saw her and she was just crying. And so we helped her, put bandage on her. And we didn't see her after the time that we put a bandage on her, but it had been there for a long time because part of it was starting to heal up. And it was really heartbreaking to see that a little baby had a 3rd-degree burn on her arm. That was massive. It was